this country is in real trouble. You know, that's nothing new. We after all, we elected Donald Trump with the hope of fixing all these problems. Doesn't look like it's happening. It looks like we're only sinking deeper and deeper into greater and greater problems. You know, we're not respected overseas. Our economy is floundering, has been floundering for years, really, since the financial crisis. Our social liberties are under attack, you know, in every dimension. This country is in trouble. You look left, you look right, it doesn't matter. Democrats, Republicans, they don't get along, of course, but they don't get along within the parties either. They hate each other. Nothing positive seems to be happening, at least not in politics, at least not in, you know, the picture of what is America. We seem to be a nation in decline, and that's tragic. That is unbelievably tragic, because I believe, as I think all of you believe, that this is the greatest country in human history. This is the greatest country that has ever existed. And if we're in decline, where do you go from there? All right, we're going to be talking a lot about American decline and what the solutions are for that decline. You're listening to the Yaron Brook Show, and this is my first show on the Blaze Radio Network. I'm excited. Hopefully you will get excited. I want to spend this first segment introducing myself, letting you know who I am, what my perspective is, what approach I take to viewing the world, analyzing the news, analyzing what is going on in the world around us. I hope to turn you all into regular listeners. You know, you can also get this on it'll be up on iTunes and other podcasting apps and on the Blaze, and so you can listen to it anytime. But it would be cool if we got a good audience of live listeners who actually could call in and engage in some discussion. If you do want to call in, 888-900-3393, 888-900-3393 to get into the discussion. So let me tell you a little bit about me. Well, obviously I have a bit of a strange name. What is this Yaron name? So I was born in Israel, raised in Israel, lived most of my early life in Israel. Served in the Israeli army, in military intelligence. I think I bring, and you'll see in the show as we talk over the weeks, a unique perspective, particularly on the Middle East, on what is happening there, and how to deal with terrorism, and how to deal with this nutty, crazy, insane region of the world, and how America should really handle itself in that world. I got an undergraduate degree in civil engineering. It's hard to believe. It seems like a separate life, a different life. I got that degree in Israel, but I knew from the age of 16 that I wanted to come to the United States of America, that I wanted to live in the greatest country in human history, that I wanted to live in the freest, or at least what I thought at the time was the freest country in the world. And that happened because I read a particular book. And maybe some of you have read this book. My guess is many of you have probably read the book. Some of you might have read it when you were young and forgotten about it. Some of you might have read it during the financial crisis when everybody had this real existential angst. The book was Atlas Shrugged. Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand. Changed my life. I don't know what it did to you, but it changed my life. Before I read the book, like most Israelis growing up in Israel, I was a socialist. I was a collectivist. I strongly believed in a notion of sacrificing for my country, sacrificing for my tribe, sacrificing for my religion. As you'll see as we go along across the show, I don't believe in any of those anymore. Atlas Shrugged changed me completely. It turned me into a freedom-loving, liberty-loving capitalist. It turned me into somebody who takes his own life really, really seriously. And at that point, when I read that book, I realized that my responsibility in life, my goal in life, was to live the best life that I could live, to be the best that I could be, and to live in the country that provided me with the best opportunities there were in the world. And that was not Israel. Israel's too small. Lots of problems with Israel we can get into, sometimes too socialist, too controlling. And America was my dream country. So how to get to America? That's a challenge. We'll talk about immigration, I'm sure, as the weeks go by, because, you know, I wanted to immigrate to America. How do you do that? It's hard. So I came to study. I came to study not primarily because I wanted to study, but mainly because I viewed it as an entree into this great country, an entree into a better life. Now, some of you will resent me for that. I know there are people out there who hate immigrants or resent immigrants, resent people who want to come into this country. I don't. I love immigrants. Love immigrants. So I got an MBA, PhD, and in finance. So we can talk economics, we can talk finance at the University of Texas, Austin, hook 'em horns, and went and became a professor of finance. And amazingly, in 2000, I was offered the job of running the Ayn Rand Institute. So this book that I read at 16, Atlas Shrugged, this book that changed my life, this philosophy that's represented in this book that I'd studied all those years, I got now an opportunity to lead the organization that was promoting these ideas, that was promoting the ideas of Ayn Rand, promoting the ideas of Atlas Shrugged. And I've been doing that in one form or another since then. I'm now the executive chairman of the Ayn Rand Institute, and you will hear a lot of Ayn Rand during this talk. So if you read Atlas Shrugged, if she intrigues you, if you find her ideas interesting, this is the show to listen to, because this is the only show probably, anyway, it might be a couple of exceptions here and there, where you will get an analysis of today's events, of today's world, from an Atlas Shrugged perspective, from an Ayn Rand perspective. This is the show where you can call in with questions about Atlas Shrugged, about Ayn Rand, about how to view her philosophy and how to integrate her philosophy with what's happening in the crazy, crazy world we live in. So what do I believe in? What is, and I'm going to do this very quickly, and because you'll figure that out as we go along slowly. But let me do that, and just quickly, what do I believe in? I'm a capitalist. But when I say I'm a capitalist, I'm just not, your normal capitalist. I'm not just a guy who thinks, we need a little bit of free markets, we need to deregulate, we need to lower taxes. I'm a radical. I'm a radical for capitalism. I want something that I wish the founding fathers had included in the Constitution. And I think if they were alive today, they would be on my side on this issue. I want a complete separation of state from economics. I mean, in many ways, I want a complete separation of state, of government from my life. The only thing I want government to do, is to protect me, is to protect you. Government is there to protect our rights. I think that was the founders' intent. Government is there to protect our rights. I want a police, I want a military, I want a judiciary, but I want the government out of my life otherwise. I don't want it regulating. I don't want it redistributing wealth. I am a radical for capitalism. And the reason I'm a radical for capitalism, by the way, we'll get a lot into the radical for capitalism later today on this show as we go along. But the reason I'm a radical for capitalism is because I value my life. I believe that every individual's responsibility, moral responsibility, ethical responsibility, is to live his life the best that he can do it. And to do that, every one of us needs to be free. Every one of us needs to be free to make the value choices that we need to make our lives better. Every one of us needs to be free to act, to achieve those values. So I value freedom. I value capitalism because I value my own life. I value your life and your right, your moral right to pursue the values you believe in, free of government or your neighbor's intervention, free of coercion, free of force, free of authority. All right, so that's kind of brief, very brief introduction. When we get back, we're going to talk about my vision, what I see as the essence of America. You're listening to the Yaron Brook Show. We'll be right back after this break.
Clear?
Author, prolific media contributor.
Hey, Yaron, is it possible to turn your gain down on your microphone?
The
Yes.
Blaze Radio.
Because it sounded fine, but then when you started talking on the air, it was kind of peaking a little bit.
So I turned it down on the Comrex.
Okay.
You want me to yell and see if it peaks?
Hey, this is Jeff.
Sure.
From the Jeff Fisher Radio.
So this is the Yaron Brook
Saturdays,
Show.
9 a.m. to noon Eastern.
Is that better?
Yes.
Okay.
I would turn it down maybe just a bit more
Sure.
just to be safe.
Times when you can't listen live, or like so many others, want
Okay.
to listen again. I'm here to tell you there are so many ways to download it.
But other than that, everything sounds good.
SoundCloud, Stitcher,
Thanks.
iTunes, and Google Play Music. To listen when and where you want to the Jeff Fisher Radio Show from theblaze.com/radio.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services
at 800-600-1645. That's 800-600-1645. 800-600-1645.
The IRS is the most feared agency in the world. You've heard ads from other companies offering to help taxpayers only if they owe over $10,000. Here at Platinum Tax Defenders, we're A-plus rated with the Better Business Bureau, and we're proud to be one of the only tax firms in the country who understands that people who owe less than $10,000 need help just as badly. The IRS doesn't care how much money you owe. They'll still garnish your wages and even seize your assets. So whether you owe just a few $1,000s or hundreds of thousands, call now for your free tax consultation. If you qualify, we may even be able to reduce your tax debt down to a small fraction of what you owe. So don't wait until the IRS seizes your property and garnishes your wages. Call 800-579-4967 and get your tax problem resolved once and for all. That number again is 800-579-4967. 800-579-4967.
Sundays on the Blaze Radio Network are all about faith, family, and freedom. Starting at 6 a.m. Eastern with Wall Builders Live, Handle on the Law at 11, The Jackie Daly Show at 2, Gun Talk at 4, and then at 7 it's Hollywood 360.
Christy Brinkley.
Guess how old?
65.
She's 63.
Okay.
Turn off the TV and turn on the radio to hear classic radio shows.
It's called Self-Made Hero, starring Stotts Cotsworth and Tony Marvin.
Right here on the Blaze Radio Network.
Are you worried about your mom or dad living alone in their house? Hi, I'm Joan London. Listen, I know how difficult it is to find senior care for someone you love. That's why I recommend a free service called A Place for Mom. They are the nation's largest senior living referral service. Call A Place for Mom today.
To receive free information on senior living communities in your area, call A Place for Mom at 1-800-803-6955.
62, come back.
A Place for Mom offers free one-on-one advice from local advisors and a personalized list of senior living communities you can visit. If you have questions about senior care for your mom or dad, there's a place for answers, A Place for Mom.
Call A Place for Mom in the next 10 minutes to get your free ebook on financing senior care as well as free information on senior living communities in your area. Call 1-800-803-6951. That's 1-800-803-6951.
30.
It's the Chris Salcedo Show.
I think, as the Washington Post and the New York Times have proven, have demonstrated, have been confirmed by the likes of James Comey, I think it's the latter. I think there are a lot of people who do not like Donald Trump, and they will say anything, and they know that these shrubs over the Post and the Times will print anything, so long as it hurts Donald Trump.
The Chris Salcedo Show. Weekdays at 3 p.m. Eastern on the Blaze Radio Network.
So
You're listening to the Yaron Brook Show.
So one way in which we know that this country is in trouble and this country is in decline is to compare where we are today and how much the government does today and what the government does today, kind of the scope and the level of involvement the government has in our lives today, with the vision of what America was supposed to be, the founding fathers' vision of what America is. And what is it? What is it that makes America? What is it that makes America the greatest country in human history? What is it that makes America? Ayn Rand called it the only moral country, the only country founded on a morality in human history. What was that morality? What is that essential core of the founders' vision for the United States of America. And I think it's important to understand this because I don't think people get it. I don't think people know. Our kids don't know any American history. They have no understanding of the core foundational principles on which this country was founded. And if we don't educate our kids, if our kids don't know that, and by the way, I don't think you parents know it either, really, then, because I don't think it's being taught for generations, then how are we going to save this country? We don't know what to save it from, and we don't know what to save it to. We don't have a vision for what is possible for America. You know, and you can say "Make America Great Again," and you can put it on T-shirts, and you can put it on hats, and you can trot around and yell it and pretend that you know what it means. But President Trump has no clue what makes America great. Donald Trump has no clue what made America great. And unfortunately, most of his supporters, I don't think, know what made America great. And therefore, they don't know what to do, how to bring it back again, how to bring that greatness, that essential greatness back. So what is it? What is it that made America great? What did the founders, what kind of country did the founders create? What were they trying to achieve? Well, you have to go, I believe, back to the Declaration of Independence to really understand it. Not so much the Constitution. Constitution you cannot understand without really understanding the Declaration of Independence. Because the Declaration of Independence is the short, succinct document that presents the essentials of the political philosophy, the vision, the ideal that the Founding Fathers held. It was a document written to frame why independence, why a war for independence was necessary, was needed. And what is the key idea of the Declaration of Independence? The key idea of the Declaration of Independence, the thing that made America the greatest country in human history, the thing that makes America in its founding the only moral country really to be established in human history, fully moral, is this idea that the purpose of government is to protect individual rights. It is the first country to recognize in its founding documents the idea that every individual has rights, the right to his own life. What does that mean? What does that mean to say you have a right to your own life? It means you have a right to live your life as you see fit, pursuing the values you believe are necessary for your survival and thriving. It means that you have a right to use your mind, to figure out what you need in order to thrive, what you need in order to be a good human being, what you need in order to succeed in life. Nobody has a right. Nobody has a right to interfere. Nobody has a right to tell you no and to force you to behave differently than the way you'd want to behave. Nobody has a right to interfere with your pursuit of your values, whether they like your values or they don't like your values, whether they agree with you or don't agree with you. As long as you are not hurting other people, as long as you are not violating their rights by using physical force against them or committing fraud against them, it's none of anybody's business what you do. But the essential here is not that negative sense. The essential here is a positive. The essential here is that there are certain rational values that human beings need to pursue in order to be successful in their own life, in order to live a good life, in order to survive and thrive. And that individual human beings must be free in order to be able to pursue those values. You must be free in order to be able to succeed in life. And that is what individual rights are trying to protect. They're trying to protect that freedom of action, that freedom of choice, to choose your values and act on those values. And the whole idea is the government then, and your neighbors, must leave you alone to do that. So you have a right to your own life. You have a right to live it as you see fit. Not to be told what business you can start and what not, what you need a license for and what you not, what you can say and what you can't say, how much to pay your employees, or how much not to pay your employees, and what to think and what not to think, and what ideas to hold and what ideas to reject. all of that. This country was founded on the idea that you should be free to pursue. You have a right to liberty. Life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, right? Liberty to think what you want to think, to say what you want to say, to write what you want to write. Free of government coercion, free of fear, right? You should be able to draw a cartoon of Muhammad in the United States of America and have the full protection of the U.S. government when the terrorists try to kill you. Our government should never apologize for anything an American says. So you have the freedom to say, think, write, draw, do what you want to do. And the government is there to protect that right. So freedom of the press, even if they come up with fake news, right? Show it's fake news. Condemn them for the fake news. But the government has no right to intervene. The government has no right. And we'll talk about, Donald Trump and his attacks on the media. We'll talk about the media and how biased and really corrupt it really is. But what role does government have to play here? I'd say none. None. You don't read the New York Times if you think it's fake news. Don't read Breitbart if you think it's fake news. I think both of them, not so much fake news, but both are unbelievably biased in different directions. I don't read them. Or I read them with a careful eye. Right? You have a right to pursue your own happiness. Now, this to me is the most important. This idea that the purpose of our life is happiness. That we have an inalienable right, a right that cannot be taken from us by anyone, to pursue that happiness. Wow. That is so crucial. That's what life's about. What's life about? It's not about sacrifice. It's not about duty. It's not about, patriotism, doing what the state wants you, what the government wants you, or what the country needs. It's about you. It's about pursuing your values. It's about living the best life you can live. It's about making the most of the one life we all have as individuals. So the pursuit of happiness. Wow, what a beautiful statement. We have an inalienable right to pursue our own happiness, not the groups, not our neighbors, not our brothers, not our friends, not anybody else's, our own. What a liberating idea. Maybe the most important idea at the heart of the creation of this country. People come here. I came here to pursue my happiness. I came here to live, to make the best life I could in pursuit of that happiness. So when we get back, we're going to talk about how it all went wrong, why it all went wrong, and where do you go from here. All right, you're listening to Yaron Brook Show, and we're going to be back right after this break.
Clear?
Was that too early?
No, that was perfect.
Okay, I couldn't quite hear because I was yelling. I couldn't quite hear the times you gave me.
Okay, I just kind of count you down, but I can be louder.
Okay, thanks.
Freedom's Disciple with Jonathan Dunn.
It was popular to be down and hurt about America and American exceptionalism when Obama was in office. But now all of a sudden your guy is in power, whether it was George Bush or Donald Trump.
Also, Yaron, you have a caller. It's Moshe from Chicago.
Yeah,
okay, cool.
It's the same on the left. All of a sudden, Donald Trump has won, and the
Did he say what he wants to talk about?
Freedom's Disciple with Jonathan.
They want to talk about radical capitalism.
Blaze.com/radio.
And it's a he.
It's a he.
Moshe from Chicago.
Good. I can hear the ads, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
If your loved one has taken these blood-thinning drugs and have been hospitalized for internal bleeding, you could be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Don't be a silent victim. Time is limited to file your claim. Call now for free information and a free consultation. Lines are open 24/7. Call 800-553-4751. That's 800-553-4751. 800-553-4751. You could be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Call 800-553-4751 now.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-311-3032. That's 800-311-3032. Again, 800-311-3032.
Rebuild or replace transmission, $3,200. Anti-lock brake system, $1,000. Rebuild or replace engine, $2,400. Truth is, once your manufacturer's warranty runs out, it's all on you. Every last cent. Get protection for covered repairs with a vehicle service contract from Toco Warranty. Unlike other companies, with Toco, there's no down payment, and the monthly payments are really affordable. Not sure how long you're keeping your car? At Toco, you can pay as you go. Keep your hard-earned cash and call Toco Warranty right now at 800-219-6614 to save big money on covered auto repairs. Prices vary by vehicle, but for about the cost of a tank of gas per month, a Toco plan has your back on expensive covered car repairs. Monthly payments are very affordable. Get your free quote now. Call Toco at 800-219-6614. That's 800-219-6614. 800-219-6614. Cancellation fee may apply. Subject to eligibility. Not available in Missouri and Washington. Waiting period and deductible apply. Coverage provided and administered by Warrantech Corporation or its affiliates. Not affiliated with any manufacturer or dealership. Visit tocowarranty.com for complete terms and conditions.
Attention, Xarelto and Pradaxa users. If you or a loved one has taken Xarelto or Pradaxa and suffered an injury or even died, you could be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Xarelto and Pradaxa are prescribed blood thinners used to prevent blood clots and protect people from strokes. If you have taken Xarelto or Pradaxa and been hospitalized for internal bleeding, call now. 800-630-6720. Serious bleeding has led to numerous cases of hospitalization and death. If
60 till we come back.
Hospitalized for serious internal bleeding or a stroke after taking Xarelto or Pradaxa, you could be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Don't be a silent victim. Time is limited to file your claim. Call now for free information and a free consultation. Call 800-630-6720. That's 800-630-6720. Again, 800-630-6720. This is an advertisement. Paid non-attorney spokesperson. InjuryHelpDesk.com is responsible for this advertisement. Principal office, Las Vegas, Nevada.
30.
Pure Opelka with Mike Opelka.
Would I like to go to Cuba? Hell yeah, I'd love to see what Cuba's about. The Kardashians went to Cuba, and those idiots had no idea what they were dealing with. Yes, I know, I called them idiot. The mother's a marketing genius, I'll give her that. She turned a bunch of no-talent kids into multimillionaires based on the idiocy of the American youth who will follow these people and do anything they tell them to do.
Pure Opelka on the Blaze Radio Network. The Yaron Brook Show.
So we're talking about the greatness of America, why America is the greatest country in human history. And I believe it's the greatest country in human history, not because of its geography, not because of the people here, not because of the specific individuals, although, you know, you have to give credit to the Founding Fathers. It's the greatest country in human history because it was the first country founded on the principle of individual rights. It's the first country in human history founded on the principle of individual freedom, on the principle that the only role of government is to protect us, otherwise leave us alone. And you can track, in a sense, the decline of America. You can track the decline based on the idea of how much government has stopped protecting our rights and has started violating them. And indeed, if you read Madison and Jefferson and many of the founding fathers, as everybody should, you will discover that when they expressed worry about the future of America, when they expressed worry about the future of this experiment that they were engaging in, they understood that the number one enemy of America was its own government, was the tendency of democracy, the tendency of the people, and ultimately the tendency of the government was to engage in rights violation, whether it's through redistribution of wealth, whether it's through regulation of behavior, whether it's through telling us what to think and what to say and how to do things. That's what's happened. 200 and something years ago, slow erosion, primarily I'd say over the last, 120 years or so. Certainly the last 100 years, we've been in slow, steady, almost uninterrupted decline, a decline that is only accelerating with the last three presidents, Bush, Obama, and Trump. And we'll get into my views on Bush, Obama, and Trump as the weeks go by. But we have a caller, Moshe, I think, wants to talk about radical capitalism. And do we have Moshe on the line? Hey, Moshe. Can't hear him.
Moshe from Chicago.
Oh, there you are. Hey, Moshe from Chicago.
Listen, I'm all for making money. I'm all for capitalism, but you take it too far. And this is what Ayn Rand and a lot of libertarians take it too far, because it's extremism. You're extremist, and we end up being just like the guys on the left because you end up being extremist. And if you want to know, you talked about the financial crisis. But what caused the financial crisis? It was greed, and it was extremism of capitalism. So I'm all for capitalism. I'm glad you're on the Blaze. It's important, but it's just extremism.
Yeah, no, I get you, Moshe. I am a radical. I'm not one of these popular capitalists who claim to be capitalists and then sell out on capitalism as soon as they encounter a little problem like the financial crisis because they can't explain it. So they say, "Oh well, we need a moderate capitalism." I'm not. I'm a radical. I believe in this because I believe fundamentally, and we can talk and we will talk about the financial crisis, but I believe fundamentally in individual freedom. It's not the government's business to tell me what kind of a loan I can or cannot take. And it's not their business to take money from you to subsidize me so I can buy a home. I should be able to buy a home by saving money, by having good credit, by going to the bank and convincing them to lend me some money. I don't need a Freddie and Fannie and federal home loan and all the ways in which the government subsidizes and therefore controls the housing industry, or subsidizes and controls and regulates the banking industry. The principle of America, and we can get into the economics of the financial crisis. I'm happy to do that. I've got out there. You can look it up. I've got like a 6-hour course on the causes of the financial crisis. Had nothing to do with capitalism, by the way. Nothing to do with free markets. There were no free markets. The two industries that failed, housing and finance, are the most regulated industries in the United States. So why, when they failed, did we blame markets? We should have blamed the regulations. It's not an accident that these crises happen in regulated, controlled situations, in regulated, controlled markets. Free markets work. Free markets work everywhere. Anyway, my point was, because I don't want to get into economics too much right now. My point was...
I'm nervous, but I'll be listening and...
Well, keep listening, and I hope I make you nervous. Look, this is radical. This is stuff you don't hear anywhere else. Nobody else out there on the radio is going to say, we need a complete separation of state from economics. Nobody out there is going to defend the individual's right to pursue his own happiness as he sees fit without state, local, government intervention in our lives. I want freedom. I take the ideas of individual rights and freedom that we learned from the founders seriously. And I want to try to explain to you why they're so fundamental, why they're so essential, why we need freedom, not just because it sounds good, not just because the founders said so, but we're going to delve deeper during the show in future episodes and to what freedom means, why it's so important, why as a species, as human beings, we have to have freedom in order to survive and in order to thrive. And I'm all about thriving.
Thank you so much for having me on.
No, anytime. Thanks, Moshe in Chicago for calling in. I appreciate it. So keep listening because, and you're going to get upset. I'm going to say stuff that upsets people. I know that people out there listening are big Donald Trump fans. I am not. I know that people out there listening, I hope there's some people out there listening who are Obama fans. I am not. And maybe even some people have a memory of George W. Bush, who I despise. So, you know, it's going to be different. It's going to be challenging for you people. And I'm going to say things that upset you. But please call in, 888-900-3393. Thank you, Moshe, for being my first caller. 888-900-3393. Call in, talk about anything. But so this vision of America, a country that protects my freedom, that leaves me alone. Think of the pioneers in the 19th century. Think of people going out there and exploring and creating a life for themselves on their own terms without asking for permission, without getting approval. I mean, imagine Thomas Jefferson today trying to invent everything he invented. I mean, the regulators would shut him down on day one. I'm sure he didn't wear goggles when he did his experiments. I'm sure his safety stuff was not up to par. I mean, at every step, right? Today, we just don't have the kind of freedom, even in America, that we had, even in America, just 100, 150 years ago. Now, there were problems even back then, and let me just mention this, right? So just so we're clear, the biggest problem in the founding of America, in my view, the biggest problem at the foundation of this country was the compromise the founders made about slavery. Because while they recognized that every individual has an inalienable right to life, liberty, property, and the pursuit of happiness, they denied those rights. They infringed on those rights. They used coercion and force to prevent the exercise of those rights by blacks in America, by keeping the institution of slavery around. The greatest evil this country committed was the extension of slavery. And of course, it paid for it. We paid dearly for it. We paid with the Civil War. 600,000 young Americans died in order to undo the compromise at the founding of this country. In spite of that, still the greatest country in human history, in spite of that, set the ideas that allowed freedom to be exported all over the world. All right, you're listening to the Yaron Brook Show. We're going to be back right after this break.
Is clear? A military veteran and radical for capitalism. It's the Yaron Brook Show on the Blaze Radio Network.
If you're not sure when you should listen to the Blaze Radio, here are some ideas. While working on your car, while visiting your parole officer, while getting kicked off a United flight. Pretty much anytime.
Hey, Yaron, you have another caller.
Okay.
Radio.
It's Abtein, Abtein, Abtein from Washington. And I think he wants to talk about what makes you different from other people who talk about politics.
Okay. America. Yet another terrorist attack.
All at theblaze.com/radio.
Right off the bat, I'm getting all the difficult names.
Businesses with tax problems.
Yeah.
Carefully. If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services
at 800-600-1645. That's 800-600-1645. 800-600-1645.
I'm Nick Soboleski, a select quote agent with a true story that could save you hundreds of dollars a year. A woman named Linda just called. Her husband, Ray, has a $300,000 group life insurance policy, but is changing jobs and can't take it with him. Well, I impartially shopped the highly rated term life insurance companies we represent and found Ray, who is 41 and takes medication to control his cholesterol, a 10-year, $500,000 policy for under $26 a month. That's almost twice the coverage for less than half of what he had paid. If SelectQuote hasn't shopped for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For your free quote, call 1-800-403-1554. That's 1-800-403-1554. 1-800-403-1554. Or go to selectquote.com. We shop, you save. Get full details in the example policy at selectquote.com/commercials. Your price could vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
If you've ever wanted to be part of Glenn's studio audience but just couldn't make the trip, here's your chance to be part of the show. Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern, Glenn is taking calls for a full hour live on the Blaze TV. This is your chance.
You have another caller. It's Enric from San Francisco.
Okay.
And I think he wants to talk about how to communicate with someone, the importance of radical capitalism.
Don't miss this special episode of Glenn on the Blaze TV.
If you or your family love the freedom of swimming any time of year, if you love sharing good times and making great memories, or if you want one of the best total body workouts ever, then it's time to discover the 3 C's of your very own endless pool. The first C is convenience. Imagine swimming year-round in your own private swimming pool, installed indoors or out, just steps away. The second C is comfort. With sculpted spa seats and your own adjustable temperature, you can easily escape the stress of your day. And the third C is cost. Your endless pool is an affordable luxury at a fraction of the cost of a regular pool. And here's a bonus C, choice. Because when you call for your free Endless Pool Idea Kit, you'll receive information on our full line of pools to suit your budget and location.
Call now for free information. 800-284-4146. 800-284-4146.
I'm Nick Waleski, a Select Quote agent with a true story that could save you hundreds of dollars a year. A woman named Linda just called. Her husband, Ray, has a $300,000 group life insurance policy, but is changing jobs and can't take it with him. Well, I impartially shopped the highly rated term life insurance companies we represent and found Ray, who is 41 and takes medication to control his cholesterol, a 10-year, $500,000 policy for under $26 a month. That's almost twice the coverage for less
60 to come back.
He had paid. If SelectQuote hasn't shopped for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For your free quote, call 1-800-403-1554. That's 1-800-403-1554. 1-800-403-1554. Or go to selectquote.com. We shop, you save. Get full details in the example policy at selectquote.com/commercials. Your price could vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
30.
Don't miss Pat and Stu.
USDA says the sandwich is meat between 2 slices of bread.
Oh, so peanut butter and jelly is not a sandwich?
Yes, it is.
No, it's not according to the USDA, because it's not
the USDA
meat.
doesn't know what you're talking about. It's a government agency.
Another section of the book lists hot dogs and hamburgers as examples of sandwich-type products when laying out inspection policies for prepackaged dinners. This is probably the most difficult thing to ponder today.
Pat and Stu, weekdays at 5 p.m. Eastern on the Blaze Radio Network.
So we're talking today about what made America great, what makes America great, and what that is this moral idea. It's this moral ideal that the founders had to create a country that protects the rights of individuals, to create a country where basically everybody, all of us, are free to pursue our own values, free to pursue our own life. And we'll be talking throughout about how that manifests itself, how that should manifest itself in our political lives today, and how it's not being, and how nobody out there represents this view, a founder's view. I mean, Thomas Jefferson today would lose an election in a landslide. In a landslide. He'd be considered way too radical for either Republicans or Democrats. I mean, who would vote for him? Can you imagine an election between Thomas Jefferson and any of our politicians today? I mean, he'd get crushed. And I think that is the saddest thing in the world. So if we are to resurrect this country, we are to bring it back, we, the people, the voters, need to be educated about what this country is about and need to be in a position where we would elect a Thomas Jefferson. That's what I strive. I strive towards getting to a point where America is the country of the founding, is the country of the founding of those first 1776, those first 30 years, those ideas that animated the founding fathers, when we can get that, when we can get those ideas embedded in the culture and in the minds and in the understanding of the American people, I'll be happy. We will have been successful. That's my goal in this show. All right, we've got a couple of callers. Let's start with Aberdeen in D.C. Hey, how's it going?
Hi there, Yaron. I'm calling from Washington State, actually.
Oh, Washington State. I thought it was D.C. Good. I far prefer Washington State to Washington, D.C. D.C. is my least favorite place, maybe on the planet, certainly in the United States.
Not good.
Not good. Not good.
So I was listening to the last caller, and you talked about how you're a radical and extremist, and just now you were talking about how you're for individual rights. But, I mean, we've just heard this so much, right, for years now.
Yeah.
All the Republicans seem to agree that, we need to repeal Obamacare and that it's bad. And everyone talks about how much they need to do it. And they've raised so much money to do it, and now they're all in power, and it still can't get done.
Yeah.
So how can we get a change like that? I mean, what is what you're saying different?
So let's take Obamacare as a good idea on how to differentiate me from these other Republicans. First of all, let me just note, I'm not an extremist. I don't like the word extremism. It's a bad word. It's a word that's and Mushi, I think, used it in this way to kind of connotate somebody that shouldn't be listened to. That's way out there. I'm a radical. Radical is consistency. Yes, I'm out there in a sense, but it's a consistent, it's based on principles. And what's the principle with regard to healthcare in the United States? It's individual rights. I should have a right to choose whatever insurance I want, to go to any doctor I want and negotiate whatever price I want with that doctor. And every doctor in the United States should have a right to refuse service to me because I can't pay him enough or because he just doesn't like me. That's what freedom means. That's what individual rights means. So I am an advocate for 100% private health care. What would that actually mean? That wouldn't mean just repealing Obamacare. That would be step one. Step two, get rid of all insurance regulations on health insurance companies in the United States. Completely establish a free market in health insurance. Get state regulations out of the picture. Get federal regulations out of the picture. Out completely. Close the Department of Health and Human Services at the federal government level. The federal government has no business in the health market, right? Then you have to do away, in other words, phase out, and this is where Republicans are going to shiver in their boots, and Democrats are going to accuse me of throwing grandmother off the cliff. Phase out over a generation or two, 10, 20, 30 years, phase out Medicare, phase out Medicaid, not make them more efficient, not turn them into block grants. Get rid of them. The government has no business in healthcare. The government should leave us alone to choose our own insurance, our own healthcare providers, make our own decisions about our own healthcare. What Republican has ever said that? None. I can guarantee it. None. None of them will ever say that. I remember during the Tea Party period, everybody was clamoring for smaller government and don't tread on me and all this great stuff, right? Really good stuff that I was supporting. And then you'd see a big sign by somebody saying, keep your hands off of my Medicare. The largest redistribution of wealth in human history and the biggest social program in the federal government. Keep your hands off of that. How are you going to restructure government? How are you going to shrink government spending? How are you going to cut the government debt if you don't touch Medicare? And I'm not talking about reforming Medicare. I'm talking about phasing it out. And there's no Republican who will say that. So I am much more radical than anybody today in politics. And I'm proud of it because I believe that my radicalism is the radicalism of the Founding Fathers. I don't think anybody in government today, I don't think most of the American people, I think an overwhelming majority of the American people would be quite happy with King George and a stamp tax. Because the fact is that our federal government today taxes us, oppresses us, regulates us, controls us more than King George ever did.
60.
And yet, we're not rising up in revolution. We're not complaining. We're not choosing politicians who will actually really drain the swamp. Not just say it, but actually do it.
Isn't that what Donald Trump talked about?
Well, he said he would, but he never presented a program. He never suggested how he would do it. And all of his actual agenda items, all of his actual policies are statist policies, grow government, and have nothing to do with the protection of individual rights and increasing freedom in America. Thank you, Albertine. I really appreciate you calling. And I'll have to remember you're from Washington State, not D.C., next time you call. Now, we have another caller, Enric from San Francisco. Please stay on the line. We've got kind of a long break coming up, but I will get back to you after this break. So we're talking about the essential characteristic of this country, freedom, individual rights. And when we get back from the break, we'll continue our discussion on how that applies to politics and reality today. You're listening to the Yaron Brook Show.
You're listening to the
Clear
Show on the Blaze Radio Network.
So many people want to talk to you today.
Oh, good. More callers?
Yeah. So we have Enric, who's from San Francisco that you just talked about or said was coming up. Then there's Alan, who wants to talk about what kind of topics that you're going to be talking about in the future.
Yep.
And then there's Stuart, who wants to talk about philosophical questions on freedom and the basics of all needs.
Principle of
Is Stuart from Hawaii?
And is a principle that is being borne out.
Let me check on that.
Please connect.
Rabbi Daniel Lappin, on demand on the Blaze Radio Network.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest.
My call screener's gonna check on where he's from.
It's your paycheck. Close your business and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services
at 800-600-1645. That's 800-600-1645. 800-600-1645.
Have you written a book and want to get it published? Then call Page Publishing at 800-733-9813. Immediately. That's 800-733-9813. Page Publishing is looking for authors.
Do you have
of all
stats on
types of
how many
books.
people
And
are
unlike
listening
most
live?
publishers, Page Publishing will take the time to review each and every book submitted.
I don't personally, but I can try and find out.
They'll get your book
be
into
great.
bookstores and for sale online at Amazon, the Apple iTunes Store, Barnes & Noble, and other outlets. They handle everything: editing, cover design, copyright protection, printing, publicity, and distribution. So if
Stuart is calling from Honolulu, Hawaii.
word poetry
I know
or a
Stuart.
biography and want to get it published, then you need to call Page Publishing and do it immediately. Call 800-733-9813 now for your free author submission kit. Again, for your free author submission kit, call 800-733-9813. That's 800-733-9813. Your road to fame and fortune could very well start with this simple phone call. Call Page Publishing at 800-733-9813 for your free author submission kit.
Paid non-attorney spokesperson Adam Pulaski of the Pulaski Law Firm with principal office in Houston, Texas is the attorney responsible for the content of this ad. This ad is not legal advice, and the choice of a lawyer should not be based solely upon advertisement. Services may not be available in all states. Attention Xarelto users. If you or a loved one took Xarelto and suffered a serious bleeding event, you may be entitled to financial compensation. Xarelto is a popular prescription blood thinner used to prevent blood clots and protect patients from strokes. These serious bleeding events have led to numerous cases of hospitalization and even death. Phone lines are open 24/7. Call 800-436-0142. That's 800-436-0142.
Sundays on the Blaze Radio Network are all about faith, family, and freedom. Starting at 6 a.m. Eastern with Wall Builders Live. Handle on the Law at 11. The Jackie Daly Show at 2. Then at 4, it's Gun Talk.
When people say I'm shooting long range, you're going,
What's long
that
range?
mean?
Yeah. Doing our part to protect our Second Amendment freedoms.
You'll never be sorry. And I don't care if you're getting Smith & Wesson or a Ruger. Revolvers are just cool.
After that at 7, it's Hollywood 360. Right here on the Blaze Radio Network.
You have another caller. It's Rachel from Montana, and she wants to talk about libertarians in the Middle East.
Lives here.
Great.
Here's the latest. I'm Chuck Carroll. One of President Trump's attorneys is insisting the commander-in-chief is not under investigation.
There's been no notification of any investigation. Nothing's changed since James Comey said the president was not a target or a subject of investigation. Nothing's changed.
However, when pressed by Fox News Sunday host Chris Wallace, attorney Jay Sekulow also said, quote, he can't read the mind of the special prosecutor. That defense contradicting a tweet by the president last week that said that he was, in fact, personally under investigation. But on the other side of the aisle, the ranking member of the House Intelligence Committee says Trump's attorney is just out to smear the name of the man leading the Russian investigation. Democrat Adam Schiff here on ABC's This Week.
The president wants to take down Bob Mueller. His lawyer wants to take down Bob Mueller.
Schiff also responding to a report the president was considering shutting down the investigation. He says not fully vetting alleged ties between the Trump campaign and Russia would be the worst form of negligence. Congressman Rodney Davis continues reflecting on the terrifying moments of last week when a gunman opened fire on members of Congress practicing for a charity baseball game.
When somebody turns their religion into politics, they're no better than anyone else who hijacks a religion and tries to indiscriminately kill innocent people.
Davis tells Fox News Sunday that he's asking Republicans and Democrats to work together and stand up to hate. The Illinois Republican was on the field when James Hodgkinson opened fire, wounding 5 people, including Congressman Steve Scalise. Scalise, meanwhile, showing improvement after undergoing another surgery yesterday. Doctors now at MedStar Washington Hospital Center have upgraded his condition to serious.
So, Yaron, I looked into how to tell how many listeners
Yep.
there are, but my boss told me that there's no real way to tell, but we'll know
After the fact.
based off the podcast downloads.
Oh, so there's no way to differentiate live listens from podcast downloads?
That's the latest.
I think because it's through SoundCloud, we won't know until next week.
Okay.
In cooperation with the International Broadcast Museum of East Sheboygan, this is a 30-second biography.
Few people know that the beautiful Darrow Hannah was almost named Darrow Hanna-Barbera because of the doink, doink, doink noise that was made when her parents pushed on her soft spot when she was a baby. The star of the big screen and mugshots across the country.
You have another caller.
That's class.
It's Sho, S-H-O, from Malaysia, and is asking what countries are trending towards capitalism.
2013, she revealed when she was a child, medical professionals recommended that she be institutionalized and medicated, which explains her dating Neil Young.
This has been a 30-second biography brought to you by
the Blaze Radio Network.
Direct from the historic newsreels of
Talking Pictures.
In cooperation with the International Broadcast Museum of East Sheboygan, this is a 30-second biography.
Bill Clinton's brother from another mother and member of the English Parliament, the funkadelic singer George Clinton was famous for putting nanoparticles of quantum physics into modern dance music with such super hits as Atomic Dog, Spooky Action at a Distance, and Schrodinger's Cat, which won for Best R&B Single in 1983 and was later re-released as General Tso's Chicken in your grocer's freezer. George Clinton was once rumored to have solved Einstein's unified field theory, but couldn't read his handwriting the next morning when he sobered up. It was at that point that George decided to give up the funk.
This has been a 30-second biography brought to you by
the Blaze Radio Network.
Matt Walsh.
And sometimes we forget that prayer, it's not some, exercise and sending good vibes in someone's direction. These days, the more secular version of saying, I'm sending prayers out, we say, I'm sending my thoughts out. Well, that doesn't do anything, sending your thoughts out. Unless you have ESP, prayer, on the other hand, is a supernatural weapon for good. Prayer works. We should pray.
Matt Walsh. Available on demand anytime at theblaze.com/radio.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services
at 800-600-1645. That's 800-600-1645. 800-600.
Okay, you have another caller. And 60 till we start. It's Roberto from Virginia, and he's asking, how do you feel about anarchy capitalists?
Benefits from Social Security. Receiving benefits is your right if you suffer from a physical or mental disability. Whether you're applying for the first time or you've already been denied, Citizens Disability can help. You'll be given an advocate who will evaluate your situation, handle your application, and deal with Social Security. Best of all, there is no fee until you receive your benefits.
30.
get paid if you win your case. To get started with your free no-obligation consultation, call 800-504-1636. That's 800-504-1636. There are a vast number of conditions that can make you eligible for disability benefits, many that you may not be aware of. So if you're disabled and unable to work, call Citizens Disability today. Again, that's 800-504-1636, 800-504-1636. That's Citizens Disability, 800-504-1636.
Welcome to a discussion of radical fundamental principles of freedom, rational self-interest, laissez-faire capitalism, and individual rights. The Yaron Brook Show starts now.
All right, so we've been talking about what makes America great, what I love about America, and what I think are the ideas that we need to resurrect, that we need to bring back from the founding in order to make America great again, so that all of us can live again in the freest country in the world. So all of us again can benefit from the fact that our rights are protected and not being violated by our government almost every single day. Now, I got a bunch of callers. I don't know what's going on out there, but I think we've got like 6 or 7 callers on the line right now. So hold off, guys. I'm going to be doing this every week. Plenty of time to ask questions. I'm going to stick with the list we have right now, I think, unless we get by these pretty quickly. Although I think everybody has some pretty intense questions, so they might take a little bit to cover. And but this is great. Thank you for listening. Thank you for calling, and keep it up in future shows. Believe me, it's much easier to do radio, to do a show when people are calling. It also now I hope these 8 people are not the only ones listening, but I assume that's not the case. All right, let's go to Enric in San Francisco. Hey, Enric, thanks for listening to Yaron Brook Show. What's up?
Hi, Yaron. I wanted to talk about how ARI could more effectively communicate its philosophies and ideas. You can hear me, right?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, great. I think the philosophy is very important to bring out, but the thing is that most people, when they are introduced to Ayn Rand and the ideas, are through the novels and through the concretization of the ideas. And I think a lot fewer people are reading the nonfiction, the philosophy, what she wrote in the 60s and further on.
Yeah.
And I think it would be effective to focus more on the cultural part of the ideas, bringing those forth through scripts, through novels, through.
So what you're suggesting is more people go out there and write novels and write scripts and make movies and write music and song lyrics and everything based on these ideas. And if that's what you're suggesting, I agree with you, but that's not something that I think an intellectual organization can oversee. I think that's something that you guys out there need to be doing. I don't want to be in a position, and I'm not going to be in a position to evaluate what is good art and what is not good art, what are good scripts and what are bad scripts. Go out there. Ayn Rand, she started with nothing, wrote some of the greatest books in human history, some of the best-selling books in American history, and made a fortune doing it. And I encourage all of you out there who have talent in those areas to do it. And I think that would be a great way. That is an essential way and is going to be ultimately necessary to change the world, to help change the world. So if that's what you mean, I'm with you, but I don't think I should be guiding the process. I don't know anything about literature. I don't know anything about music. I mean, anything is an exaggeration, but I know very little.
Contests and some of this, I just think some guidance and some support for this would be very important to bring the ideas much further along.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that, but I really don't think these are the kind of things that we should be supporting, because you got to make it in the marketplace, and that's part of what we'll evaluate whether it's good or not. Now, if there's specific projects, then let us know and let us look at them. But I think as an organization, our charter, our mission is to focus in on the intellectual issues and to leave the more aesthetic issues, the other mechanism by which ideas are transmitted, to you, to other people, and maybe to future organizations that do this as a full-time thing. That's not what ARI is structured for. But thank you, Henrik, and thank you for keep thinking about ways in which we can bring America back and bring these ideas to the forefront so that we can really impact and change the world. Thanks, Henrik. Let's go to Alan. Alan, are you on there?
Hello, yes.
Hey, Alan, how's it going?
Hey, Yaron, good. I wanted to say congratulations on your first show on the Blaze Network. I hope you stay many years.
Thank you.
And I wanted to see if, just looking forward to the next few weeks, if you have any specific topics in mind already that you wanted to talk about.
Well, not really. I mean, I think a lot of this is going to be it's going to depend on the news cycle and what's going on. But I do want to introduce the Blaze listeners to some of the core ideas I have about different, policy issues. So there'll definitely be a show about foreign policy. There might even be a question soon about the Middle East coming up, one of the callers. But that'll be a short introduction. But there'll definitely be like a show on foreign policy, and there'll be a show on what I mean by economic freedom and how that would apply. There'll be a show on things like some of the social liberties that I think are being infringed today, like what the NSA is doing and other things like that. And there'll definitely be a show on Donald Trump and why I'm not a fan, and why I'm not a fan of really anybody today in politics and what that means, and on and on. But to a large extent, I want to follow the news cycle because I want to make this a show that people listen to get a rational Ayn Rand perspective, objectivist perspective on the news, on the events of the day. And sprinkled in will include big chunks of philosophy as part of that analysis. Do you have topics you'd like me to be talking about?
I thought about it when I called, and I thought maybe the educational system, and if you think there's anything that could be done to improve that in America, and what that might be if you do.
Yeah, I mean, that would be a great topic. So, yes, and I could do a whole show easily on that. So, yes, I will definitely be doing a show on educational topic. And I'll just give everybody just a teaser for that, and that is that I believe education is like healthcare. The government has no business in it. Get out of healthcare, get out of education, privatize it, sell all the schools. And if people out there, and I'm sure most of the listeners out there care about poor kids and want to make sure that those poor kids get an education, start a foundation, start a charity, make sure they all get scholarships and help them out. Let's not wait for government to solve problems. Let's stop government from solving problems, because when they start solving problems, they almost always make them worse. So yes, education system is a good one. Healthcare system is a good one. The whole idea of a welfare state, the whole idea of redistribution of wealth, and why that's both immoral and impractical. Why it's immoral, both because it takes money from people, but also it's bad for the people who receive welfare. And I'd like to talk a lot about why it's harmful to the recipient. Yeah, no end to the ideas for shows, for topics to discuss. But I'm always open to new ones. So if you have new ideas, give me a call. Let me know. Drop me an email. And by the way, for everybody listening, you can follow me on Twitter. It's Yaron Brook, Yaron Brook, Brook, just one word, Yaron Brook. And on Facebook, Ybrook, Ybrook. You can follow me on both of those. You can send me private messages through both of those, and send me show ideas if you have any ideas for what I should be covering. Argue with me, debate me, contradict me. I want to make this as lively, as interactive as possible. So thanks, Alan. Any other ideas before we have to go to a break here soon?
I'm sorry, I only have one.
All right, it was a good one. Thanks, Alan. Appreciate it. We're going to go to break in about a minute, and then we'll talk from Stuart from Hawaii, and we've got Rachel from Montana, maybe? Montana, wow. But then we've got Shu from Malaysia. I think this is my first call ever on any show anywhere from Malaysia, and Roberto from Boring, Virginia. So stay tuned after the coming break. There's a lot to talk about, and there's a lot to talk about, again, from this context, from this framework of individual rights, of what would it look like? What would the world look like? What would America look like if it truly protected individual rights instead of violating it. And the fight for the future of this country, is fundamentally a fight over individual rights, over your right to life, liberty, property, and the pursuit of happiness, and understanding the moral, ethical foundation on which that rests. And we'll have a whole show on that moral foundation. Ayn Rand called it rational egoism, and we'll talk a lot about that. Only show in the world where you'll hear whole segments on rational egoism. You're listening to Yaron Brook Show on the Blaze Radio Network. We'll be right back after this break.
PhD, author, media contributor. This is the Yaron Brook Show, the Blaze Radio Network.
Sorry, I think I've been saying your name wrong. Is it Yaron or Yaron?
Yaron.
Okay, my apologies.
That's fine. I can't hear it anymore. Everybody mispronounces it.
Podcasts that speak to your values.
Apparently it's peacetime, so our liberal friends have forgotten this. But you remember when they thought it'd be really cool, let's just, raise the morale of the Iranian people. And what we'll do is we'll build a mock US ship and then we'll bomb it. Just for kicks and giggles.
Ready for download now or later.
They're not thinking about doing this to a real ship. They're just doing it for fun.
Check out Freedom's Disciple at theblaze.com/radio, SoundCloud, iTunes, and Google Play Music.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services
at 800-600-1645. That's 800-600-1645. 800-600-1645.
The IRS is the most feared agency in the world. You've heard ads from other companies offering to help taxpayers only if they owe over $10,000. Here at Platinum Tax Defenders, we're A-plus rated with the Better Business Bureau, and we're proud to be one of the only tax firms in the country who understands that people who owe less than $10,000 need help just as badly. The IRS doesn't care how much money you owe. They'll still garnish your wages and even seize your assets. So whether you owe just a few $1,000s or hundreds of thousands, call now for your free tax consultation. If you qualify, we may even be able to reduce your tax debt down to a small fraction of what you owe. So don't wait until the IRS seizes your property and garnishes your wages. Call 800-579-4967 and get your tax problem resolved once and for all. That number again is 800-579-4967. 800-579-4967.
The Lawrence Jones Show.
How do you feel for a baby? I don't know. Because judging by this whole thing, I feel like that's got to be processed. Like, I feel like you can't just touch the baby if you're trying to hashtag end rape culture.
Right.
Also, $100 says this woman is part of the 16.4 million that thinks chocolate milk comes from brown cows.
You're probably right.
The Lawrence Jones Show, Saturdays at noon Eastern, on the Blaze Radio Network.
This is attorney advertising. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision. Should not be based solely upon advertising. Kurt Goza and Brad Honnold are responsible for the content of this advertisement. Attention. Call now if you've had an IVC filter placed in your body to prevent blood clots, as you may be at serious risk. The FDA warns that these filters may move or break, which may lead to heart or lung damage, internal bleeding, or even death. Call now for a free consultation. Since 2005, there have been over 1,000 problems reported to the FDA
60 to come back
regarding IVC filters, such as fractures, tearing, device movement, blockage, and breaking of the device. If you or a loved one suffered serious health complications from an IVC filter which moved or broke, call us right now, as you may be entitled to compensation. Call 800-318-4950. That's 800-318-4950. Call now. 800-318-4950.
30.
The Morning Blaze with Doc Thompson.
Coming up on the next Morning Blaze, it is the return of Doc Thompson. It's the purported return of Doc Thompson.
Okay.
Did you send the bill money?
I did send the bill money.
Oh, good.
Or did I?
Or See, I told you to do it before we left the house. I remembered. Well, you know what? It's going to be a big surprise when we see what happens Monday, with or without Doc Thompson, on The Morning Blaze.
The Morning Blaze, weekday mornings 6 to 9 Eastern on the Blaze Radio Network. You're listening to the Yaron Brook Show on the Blaze Radio Network.
Hey, we're back, and we're going to go to Stuart in a couple of minutes. But let me just a few kind of wrap-up points or housekeeping notes, if you want. I just realized I used the word objectivism in the last segment for the first time. And for those of you listening who are not familiar with Ayn Rand and not familiar with the term, objectivism is Ayn Rand's philosophy. It's the name she gave her philosophy, a philosophy of reason and reality, reason, rational self-interest. We'll be talking about all those concepts as we go along, during the weeks to come, the months to come on this show. And Ayn Rand was the original radical for capitalism. She understood the founding principles of this country, I think, better in some sense than the founders did themselves. She had partially a perspective on it, 150, 200 years perspective on the founding and on the ideas that led to the founding of America, and could articulate an entire philosophy. So to me, Ayn Rand is the first and only truly American philosopher, in the sense that Ayn Rand is the first philosopher to defend and articulate the case for America as it was at its founding, for America as it should be, as it still can be. And I think, and again, we'll talk about this many, many times, I think that if we're going to save America, we're going to have to do it on the basis of the ideas that many of you probably read in Atlas Shrugged. It is that foundation, that ideological, philosophical foundation that is going to be needed. That radical philosophical foundation that's going to be needed to shake the world up, to shake this country up, to wake it up, to resurrect those political foundational ideas that existed at the founding of America. All right, we got Stuart on the line from Hawaii. Hey, Stuart, how's it going?
Aloha. Aloha.
Aloha.
Hey.
What's up?
Yeah. So, I have a philosophical question for you.
All right.
I often get into arguments with defenders of the welfare state. They say to me, you always talk about your precious freedom and private property, but there are starving kids out there.
Yep.
There are all these human needs going unsatisfied. And they cite Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which says these physiological needs, such as water and food and health care, are the most basic needs. But to me, that sounds off. It seems to me the most basic need is freedom, specifically the freedom of action, to access all those other needs, to create the wealth, that satisfies their human needs. And without freedom, that's not accessible to people.
Yes, and I would say even more fundamental than freedom to act, it's the freedom to think, so that it's the ability to use one's reasons to solve problems. Look, the state of humanity in its natural state, before capitalism, before the invention of the United States of America, before the idea of individual rights and freedom, is poverty. 300 years ago, everybody was poor, everybody. And then, in the Enlightenment, during the period of the 18th century, the period in which culminated with the founding of America, the idea of individual freedom, the individual freedom to think, to invent, to create, to build, to make, and to act on those thoughts. The freedom to do all that. The idea that freedom was a right, that freedom should be uninterfered with by government, suddenly came into vogue for a while. And we got the United States of America, and these ideas actually spread across the world in a little bit. And then people suddenly discovered. They started creating, they started building, they started making. We got an industrial revolution. And a consequence of that industrial revolution is that people got wealthier. So freedom is necessary. It's a necessary feature to get people out of poverty. And then, of course, in Asia, they didn't discover the ideas of freedom until very late, really until about 30 years ago, 40 years ago. And since they discovered the ideas of freedom, they discovered capitalism, just a little bit of capitalism. They become relatively rich. So in 1979, everybody in China, pretty much everybody in China, 99.99% of the Chinese population was dirt poor. Many of them at the verge of starvation. Today, there's a massive hundreds of millions of people in middle class. Hundreds of millions of people today can save money, actually are living a decent life. In many cases, a really good life. How did that happen? Because China adopted a little bit of freedom, as did many of the countries in Asia. When you give people freedom, that is the solution to poverty. So you don't start with, yes, there's wealth and we need to redistribute. You have to start with the question of how does wealth get created? Where does wealth come from? And how do poor people, how can they become middle class and then rich? And the only way for that to happen is not through redistribution. Do you know one of the most unreported stories, and this is a travesty, probably the most unreported story of the last few years was a report by the United Nations, an organization I almost never quote, but in this case I will. A report from the United Nations that said that over the last 30 years, between 1 to 2 billion with a B people have come out of poverty. I mean, that is the story of the century, and nobody reports it. And how did they come out of poverty? Because of capitalism, because of freedom, not because of foreign aid, not because of socialism, not because of redistribution of wealth, but because of a little bit of freedom. So it's because I care about the ambitious poor, because I care about people who want to make their lives better. That is one of the reasons that I'm an advocate for capitalism. And the people who want socialism, the people who want statism, the people who look to government for all the solutions, they're the ones who don't care about the poor. They're the ones who don't care about making life better for those who would like to make their own life better. Give poor people the opportunities, and you create those opportunities by leaving people free, having a rule of law, establishing the basic ideas of capitalism. That's the way to change the world. Does that make sense, Stuart?
Yeah, I agree. I think when you look at the past 200 years, capitalism itself is the most effective anti-poverty program.
There's no question. So while we don't really have capitalism in the fullest sense, in a sense of separation of state from economics, the closer we come to capitalism, the less regulations we have, the greater the economic growth, the more wealth is produced, and the fewer people are poor. So thank you, Stuart. Really appreciate the call. It's a great question. And again, going to be a theme throughout this show, throughout the Yaron Brook Show on The Blaze, is going to be how capitalism is the solution to really all the problems in the world. All the problems in the world, not just the economic problems. Capitalism is the solution to the problems of war, to the problems of terrorism, ultimately. We'll see how as we go along. But as we respect individual freedom more, as we respect individualism, as we respect the rights and liberties of the American people, in that way, we will stand up more for ourselves and solve the problems that are really out there all over. All right, we're going to go to a break here in about a minute. We've got Rachel still and Shu and Roberto, so please stay on the line. Don't hang up. We haven't forgotten about you. We'll be coming to you soon. So here on this show, we talk about America. We talk about the basic ideas that will make America great, have made America great, and will continue to make America great. So stay tuned. We're going to be back after this break and talk to Rachel from Montana about the Middle East, foreign policy. I've got a lot to say about that. You're listening to Yaron Brook Show. We'll be right back.
10. Clear.
You won't hear traditional political views here. This is the Yaron Brook Show on the Blaze Radio Network.
Do you love all things Glenn Beck? Would you like to know what's always happening in the world of Glenn? Get the inside scoop by signing up for the free Glenn Beck newsletter. You'll get Glenn's take on the news of the day, show recaps, exclusive videos, special offers, and much more. Get Glenn Beck delivered straight to your inbox. Visit glennbeck.com/newsletter and sign up today. That's glennbeck.com/newsletter.
Are you worried about your mom or dad living alone in their house? Hi, I'm Joan London. Listen, I know how difficult it is to find senior care for someone you love. That's why I recommend a free service called A Place for Mom. They are the nation's largest senior living referral service. Call A Place for Mom today.
To receive free information on senior living communities in your area, call A Place for Mom at 1-800-803-6951.
A Place for Mom offers free one-on-one advice from local advisors and a personalized list of senior living communities you can visit. If you have questions about senior care for your mom or dad, there's a place for answers, A Place for Mom.
Call A Place for Mom in the next 10 minutes to get your free ebook on financing senior care as well as free information on senior living communities in your area. Call 1-800-803-6951. That's 1-800-803-6951.
Paid non-attorney spokesperson Adam Pulaski of the Pulaski Law Firm with principal office in Houston, Texas is the attorney responsible for the content of this ad. This ad is not legal advice, and the choice of a lawyer should not be based solely upon advertisement. Services may not be available in all states. Attention Xarelto and Prodexa users. If you or a loved one has taken the blood-thinning drugs Xarelto or Prodexa and suffered an injury or even died, you could be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Call 800-553-4751 now. Xarelto and Prodexa have been linked to internal bleeding, strokes, and pulmonary embolisms. If you or a loved one has taken these blood-thinning drugs and have been hospitalized for internal bleeding, you could be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Don't be a silent victim. Time is limited to file your claim. Call now for free information and a free consultation. Lines are open 24/7. Call 800-553-4751. That's 800-553-4751. 800-553-4751. You could be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Call 800-553-4751 now.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-311-3032. That's 800-311-3032. Again, 800-311-3032.
Rebuild or replace transmission, $3,200. Anti-lock brake system, $1,000. Rebuild or replace engine, $2,400. Truth is, once your manufacturer's warranty runs out, it's all on you. Every last cent. Get protection for covered repairs with a vehicle service contract from Toco Warranty. Unlike other companies, with Toco, there's no down payment, and the monthly payments are really affordable. Not sure how long you're keeping your car? At Toco, you can pay as you go. Keep your hard-earned cash and call Toco Warranty right now at
860 till we come back.
14 to save big money on covered auto repairs. Prices vary by vehicle, but for about the cost of a tank of gas per month, a Toco plan has your back on expensive covered car repairs. Monthly payments are very affordable. Get your free quote now. Call Toco at 800-219-6614. That's 800-219-6614. 800-219-6614. Cancellation fee may apply. Subject to eligibility. Not available in Missouri and Washington. Waiting period and deductible apply. Coverage provided and administered by Warrantech Corporation or its affiliates. Not affiliated with any manufacturer or dealership. Visit TocoWarranty.com for complete terms and conditions.
Don't miss
30
and Stu.
We'll tell you how to get a custom car horn so you can be more polite about your honking, I guess.
I'm sorry, if I'm honking in my horn, the last thing I'm concerned about is being polite. But I guess we're right now. And we'll explain what dead butt syndrome is and why you should be concerned about it.
Dead butt, alive butts, I like them all. No need to discriminate.
Pat and Stu, weekdays at 5 p.m. Eastern on the Blaze Radio Network.
Yaron Brook.
I should have said this earlier, but happy Father's Day. I don't know what you guys are doing for Father's Day. Hopefully listening to this show, and I'll be going out to dinner with my son and my wife later tonight, and actually going to a jazz concert as well. So today's going to be a full stacked but fun day, and hope you guys are having a good time as well. Let me just say something about freedom. We're going to talk a lot about freedom, about individual rights, but I want to make it clear that at the foundation of all this, is an idea that each one of us is capable of reasoning, of thinking, of discovering truths about the world. I believe strongly, I think this is true, the only way to know, the only way to achieve truth is through the use of human reason, not revelation, not mysticism, not any of that. You need to think. And the only way for the human mind to function well, to be able to explore, to be able to discover new ideas, to be able to experiment, to be able to be stretched, to be able to really integrate new ideas so that we can live a productive, good, healthy, wonderful life, is when it is free, when it is left alone. And not just free from force, but free from authority, free from this idea that there's somebody out there that has the truth and I need to be passive and accept what they say. No, it's your responsibility as an individual, every single one of you, to discover the truth for yourself. Not a subjective truth. I only think there's one truth. But it's your responsibility to discover that truth. It's your responsibility. It's your senses, it's your mind, it's your reasoning faculty. Don't accept me or anybody else as an authority over what is true and what is not. All right. With that said, let's go to the Middle East. Hey, Rachel from Montana. You want to talk about the Middle East?
Hi, Yaron. Yes, thanks so much.
Sure.
My question is about Qatar and the marginalization of Qatar by the other Middle Eastern countries. I always view Qatar as kind of a beacon of capitalism.
insurance policy, but is changing and can't take it. Well, I impartially shopped the highly rated term life insurance companies we represent and found Ray, who is 41 and takes medication to control his cholesterol, a 10-year, $500,000 policy for under $26 a month. That's almost twice the coverage for less than half of what he had paid. If SelectQuote hasn't shopped for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For your free quote, call 1-800-403-1554. That's 1-800-403-1554. You say. Deals in the example policy at SelectQuote.com/commercials. Your price could vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
Pure Opelka with Mike Opelka.
Starting at noon Eastern Monday, we will cover all the stuff that happened over the weekend, especially the jury in the Bill Cosby case. Dr. Wendy's going to join us. We'll talk about Cosby. We'll also talk about the latest twist in the investigation into Donald Trump and the Donald Trump campaign and the Russians and Comey and, well, everything else. Be here.
Pure Opelka on the Blaze Radio Network.
Attention, Xarelto and Pradaxa users. If you or a loved one has taken Xarelto or Pradaxa and suffered an injury or even died, you could be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Xarelto and Pradaxa are prescribed blood thinners used to prevent blood clots and protect people from strokes. If you have taken Xarelto or Pradaxa and been hospitalized for internal bleeding, call now. 800-630-6720. Serious bleeding has led to numerous cases of hospitalization and death. If you or a loved one was hospitalized for serious internal bleeding or a stroke after taking Xarelto or Pradaxa, you could be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Don't be a silent victim. Time is limited to file your claim. Call now for free information and a free consultation. Call 800-630-6720. That's 800-630-6720. Again, 800-630-6720. This is an advertisement. Paid non-attorney spokesperson. InjuryHelpDesk.com is responsible for this advertisement. Principal office, Las Vegas, Nevada.
If you or your family love the freedom of swimming any time of year, if you love...
You have another caller. It's Russell from Virginia and is asking what the goal of progressive is.
Of your very own
All right.
endless pool.
And Skylar wants to congratulate you on being on the Blaze.
In your own
All right,
private
we'll see if we can
swimming
get to
pool,
everybody.
Installed indoors or out, just steps away. The second C is comfort. With sculpted spa seats and your own adjustable temperature, you can easily escape the stress of your day. And the third C is cost. Your endless pool is an affordable luxury at a fraction of the cost of a regular pool. And here's a bonus C, choice. Because when you call for your free Endless Pool Idea Kit, you'll receive information on our full line of pools to suit your budget and location.
Call now for free information. 800-284-4146. 800-284-4146.
30 till we come back.
And you should listen to the Blaze Radio. Here are some ideas. While swimming with sharks. While darning socks. While hacking the mainframe. Pretty much any time is a good time to listen to the Blaze Radio. Check out our live shows.
Chris Salcedo, welcome to the show on the Blaze.
Podcast.
This is Pure Opelka, the early edition on the Blaze Radio Network.
And on-demand programming.
Welcome to the Lawrence Jones Show. I can't thank you enough for joining the program.
All at theblaze.com/radio.
This is the Yaron Brook Show.
All right, this is the final segment of the first Yaron Brook Show on the Blaze ever. I hope you've been enjoying it. I hope you'll dial back in and come back and listen every Sunday, 11 to 1 Pacific time, and get engaged. Lots of callers today. That's exciting. That's a lot of fun. And also, you can let your friends know about the show. Let everybody know. Let them come listen live, dial in, but also you can download the show. It'll be up on YouTube. It'll be on Stitcher. It'll be on SoundCloud. It'll be on YouTube. It'll be on pretty much every format known to modern 21st century mankind. So no excuses not to be able to listen to. You can also follow me, for those of you who are new, on Twitter, Yaron Brook, YARONBROOK, and Facebook, YBrook. All right, we're going to go quickly to Roberto, and I've got a few calls here to wrap it up, and I'm gonna have to give you short answers, but we're gonna continue. All these topics are topics we'll pick up on future shows. So, Roberto from Virginia, how are things going?
Good day. How are you?
I'm good.
Well over here.
Good, good.
Yes, sir. I just want to say Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. My question is actually, your sentiments actually align very much with the anarchist capitalist groups, and I just want to know, what are your sentiments towards that?
I disagree with the anarcho-capitalists completely. I don't think my ideas align with them at all. I am not an anarchist. I believe strongly, philosophically, that government is a necessary good, that you have to have government, and indeed that anarchy will always lead to statism and to authoritarianism. I also believe in objective law, that there is a standard for right law and wrong law, that there is a standard for right and wrong generally. And therefore you have to have an institution, the court system and a legislature to legislate that codify those objective laws. You can't just leave it up to the so-called market to determine what is right and what is wrong when it comes to coercion. So no, I don't believe in anarchy. I believe that the government is there to protect individual rights, that individual rights are an objective idea about individual freedom, and that we need that protection, that we can't leave that protection up to the so-called marketplace. Marketplaces don't exist where force exists. And unless you eradicate force first, marketplaces will become places where the biggest gun wins. And I don't want to live in a world like that. I would never want to live in an anarchist world. I don't want to be parachuted into Somalia. I would much rather live today in America than in anarchist Somalia any day.
Gotcha. Well, the reason why I ask that is, anarchist capitalists actually disagree with the form of taxation. They believe that taxation is a big form of theft done by government.
Sure.
And the distribution of wealth is very immoral. One thing I can share with you is Wendell Pierce, actor from The Wire, HBO series, talked about how a form of anarchism existed during the Jim Crow days in black communities, and they were able to actually allocate resources and also build a
Roberto, let's leave this topic of anarchism to a show where I can devote real time to this, because it's going to be hard to answer you in the 3 minutes I've got left in the show. So I really appreciate the call, and I will devote a show in the future to this whole issue of anarchism, and was there anarchism under Jim Crow, and anarchism in international trade today and other things. I appreciate the call. I will be discussing it, but let's be clear. I don't believe, if I was offered an alternative between anarchism and almost any other form of government, I would choose almost any other form of government. And certainly capitalism, free markets, the founding of America, the very idea of a government focused on individual rights, in my view, is the best form of government, far, far superior to any form of anarchism in the world out there. All right, let's go quickly to Russell, who wants to talk about another huge topic called progressivism, but I'll try to answer it in a soundbite and then make a closing remark. Hey, Russell, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you, Mr. Brooks?
I'm good, thank you.
My question is, what is the goal?
2 minutes.
That started under Teddy Roosevelt. Like, I've seen them, from the Great Depression forward, starting Social Security and Medicare.
Sure. Well, let's talk about quickly a soundbite progressivism, right? Something you could talk about for hours and hours and hours. Progressivism's goal is ultimately to destroy the very foundation of what America was built upon. It is to destroy the concept of individualism and to embed in America the notion of collectivism, the notion of the group as primary over the individual. Progressivism's whole idea is the individual doesn't count. The whole point of the individual is to serve the group. And that's why they try to make the individual dependent on the group through Social Security, through Medicare, through regulations, through controls, through expanding government, even through the advocacy of warfare in the name of the state. So progressivism is ultimately a European ideology brought to America in the name of trying to destroy what was uniquely American, the individualism, the focus on individual rights, and the focus on limited government that was America. So it is the beginning of the end of America. I consider Teddy Roosevelt and then Wilson as two of the worst presidents in American history because they embedded progressivism into American society. Thanks, Russell. Really appreciate the call. Sorry we don't have more time to talk. but I like have 45 seconds before we break. So
Fine, thank you.
thanks everybody. Thanks everybody who listened today for listening to my my first show on the Blaze. Many, many more to come. Hopefully, I think what you'll be hearing in the future is a really unique perspective on the world. You're listening to Yaron Brook Show, and talk to you next week.
Applying the principles of rational and individual rights on your radio.
All right.
It's the Yaron
Thank
Brook
you.
Show.
Excellent show. I really enjoyed it.
You did good. I appreciate that. Are you going to be here every Sunday, or is it going to rotate?
Yeah, I should be here every Sunday.
Wonderful. Good. Anyway, talk to you next Sunday then.
Sounds good.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Businesses with tax problems.